Let's talk about 529 plans and saving for your kids' college. First, let's talk about the plan. A 529 plan is a tax advantage type of account that you use to invest money now for a beneficiary, typically child, but can be grandchild, can be someone else's educational expenses, specifically to pay for college and other qualified educational expenses in the future, which can include other types of education. It can include private schools before college to some degree, etc. 529 contributions are made with post-tax dollars. Important to understand, post-tax money. The earnings of which grow tax deferred. That's another important thing. Grow tax deferred. And the withdrawals are ultimately tax-free, which is huge. Tax-free withdrawals if used for education or qualified expenses. Any other types of withdrawals, you could still do it if you decide, I actually want to use the money for something else, but there would be a 10% penalty for I guess we would call them non-qualified uses. So you still can get the money out for something else, but you would pay that penalty. Now, here's maybe the most important thing to understand about 529s. 529 plans are run by states. And so each state can actually have tax deductions for contributions with a limit. There are different limits, etc. So it's important to understand in your state, is there a tax benefit to the contributions? Now, it's important to understand that there aren't really contribution limits to how much you can put into the account, but technically the money you are putting in the account is a gift. And so it starts to get more complicated tax-wise when you contribute more than certain amounts to 529 plans, currently $16,000. So the first $16K per year does not affect what's called your lifetime gift limit. This has to do with the estate tax, okay? States will sometimes have aggregate contribution limits, which are the lifetime amount a beneficiary can get. So sometimes the account in total might be limited to like $500,000 ever. In 2017, 529s were expanded to also include K through 12 for private school expenses. In 2019, they were expanded to cover apprenticeship programs. So they're quite versatile, certainly more than ever before. And there are two types of 529 plans: an education savings plan or a prepaid tuition plan. The education savings plan is the most common. Most of the time when people say 529, that's what they mean. You can get these through a ton of financial institutions. The money goes in. It's in a selection of mutual funds or target date funds that adjust holdings as the college date draws nearer. Then there are prepaid tuition plans only available in 9 states: Florida, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Mississippi, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Texas, Washington. And that lets you lock in tuition payments at the current rate of college tuition, but you can't use the money for room and board. There are often restrictions as to which colleges it can be used for. So those are the two types of plans. Now, separate completely from a 529 is a custodial account. These are accounts you open for a child, and they can be turned over to the child once they reach adulthood. The upside is the money can be used for anything. It doesn't have to be educational expenses. The downside is these are just straight up taxable accounts. You don't get the tax benefits you do from a 529. Also, 529s are typically considered to get favorable treatment over custodial accounts when FAFSA is used to determine financial aid eligibility. Something else to keep in mind, but talk to your financial and or accounting professional. You can use an investment calculator to figure out how much money might accrue if you were to do the $16,000 amount for a few years and then let it ride for 12 years, or how would that all work out? Starting at 0 over 18 years, if you expect to make 7%, If you throw in $3,000 a year, you can expect to have a little over $100,000 in the account. About half is contributions and half would be capital gains. Remember, the capital gains are tax-free if the money is used for qualified educational expenses. Separately from this, it's important also to think about what is the future of college education. I don't pretend to know the answer to that. I've opened a 529 for my daughter, and I also am open to the idea that if the cost of college continues increasing at the rate it has been, and wages don't correlate with that, maybe something's going to break. So I don't know, but I always know you can change the beneficiary. So if my daughter doesn't end up going to college or needing that money, the beneficiary could be changed. And also, at the end of the day, I can always take the money out and pay that 10% penalty. There are studies about, is it still worth it, even if you pay the 10% penalty, to let the money grow tax deferred for a period of time? Topic for a different video, which you can also find articles about.